All right. Hello, and welcome. I'm going to have a conversation with you today about expanding your capacity to receive and hold the next level vision of what it is that you're calling in, whether it's a new caliber of relationship, whether it's a new level of success or wealth in your business, in your life. I'm going to talk about the energetic and identity pieces that go into actually holding the vision, because the truth is everyone has a vision inside of them. I meet people at the coffee shop and I can sort of pick at them for a couple of minutes and find the next level vision and dream that lives within them. Yet so many people talk about doing something or visualize doing something, but they have that in their mind for years without it actually manifesting in their reality. I have seen so many miracles in the people that I work with after doing this work that I'm about to talk to you about. I've seen someone go from doing little $10,000 contracts to working with executive teams at this huge level, to being on the board of a company and having meetings with billionaires and just playing in this whole other realm. I've seen an executive who was at a glass ceiling in his career and had tried to get a better opportunity and a pay raise, go from, after working together briefly, to getting a huge new opportunity and nearly doubling his salary. I've seen people call in love, dream houses, incredible success, just huge things. And I want to really emphasize the work that we're doing, it doesn't really focus on that first. It's the inner work first. Your external reality is constantly mirroring back to you your internal reality. And so if our internal reality is limited, then that has to be reflected in what we're experiencing. And the way that I see this journey of healing and growth that we move through really exists in two phases. The first phase is remembering who we are, or you could say remembering or forgetting. So we come into this world pure and beautiful and innocent and filled with love and light and possibility. And then we learn that we're not enough. We learn what's possible and not possible for us. We learn which parts of us are lovable and which parts of us aren't. We learn that we're good enough for this, but not for that. And as we grow up, these patterns, these beliefs are repeated and reinforced, and we come to accept it as truth. But it's not the truth. Who are you? Beyond your name, beyond your identity, beyond the labels that you hold, sister, wife, mother, brother, husband, employee, entrepreneur, creative, who are you beyond those titles? Who are you? You might then go into this kind of essence of who you are, or get a montage of your memories of your past, but you're not really your past either. You just believe that you're your past. You just believe that you're your memories. You just believe that you're who you remember yourself to be. But there's an essence that's deeper than that. There's an essence that goes beyond that. That's what I'm talking about in the remembering. The soul that you are, the fractal of divine consciousness that you are, beyond everything, beyond the human, beyond your limitations, beyond your memories. Who are you? There's an essence, there's a core to your being that is powerful, that is infinite, that is beyond the limitations that you have learned. And so the first part of this work is the remembering of that truth. And it comes with forgetting. I say forgetting, I don't really mean forgetting like having amnesia, but it's like neutralizing the charge of your human story, of your human life, so of all the things that came before. We have a toolkit of creation. We have a mind which gives us willpower and discernment and focus, and we have a heart which gives us wisdom and intuition and guidance and light and love. And we have this ability to dialogue with the universe, to dialogue with the deeper part of ourself, to receive messages from our highest self and call those into reality in our being. You have the same toolkit for creation as everyone else. Look at someone who has a life that you want, if that's something that you experience, and they're the same. They have a mind, they have a heart, they have a highest self, they can dialogue with infinite intelligence. That's it. They don't have anything that you don't have. We look into this 3D human world, which is a world of distraction, and we go, oh, they have something that I don't have, and I'm not good enough, and I don't look like that, or I don't talk like that, or I don't have that history, that background, I didn't come from that money, whatever. But it's not the truth. These are all the made up things that we've bought into, that we believe, and because we believe it, it becomes true, not because it's true, but because we make it true. But it is not the truth. In your core, in your essence, you have the same beautiful divine power to create as any other human being on this planet. No one has anything that you don't have. It's your ability to get past your human limitations and to tap into that makes you a powerful manifester, that makes you a conscious creator. And I want to really emphasize here, it's not about the manifesting. We don't have to be afraid of stuff. I love wealth. I love having a bougie life, and I love seeing my clients have huge wins and success and all these things. We don't have to forsake the things in the 3D world that we want, but we also don't want to get distracted by them. It's not about that. It's really becoming the deeper truth of who you are. The things that you desire, whether you dream about being on stage or helping people or living this incredible life that you were denied when you were younger, or helping your family or doing this. It's not about the thing. It's part of who you are. No thing outside you will ever make you happy. No thing outside you is ever going to make you feel the way you want to feel. Your feelings are yours. They're like a guitar strings that run through your being. It's up to you to pluck them at any moment. You want to feel joy, choose to feel joy. If you want to feel gratitude, choose to feel gratitude. If you want to feel peace, you choose to feel peace. But what they will do is they point you towards becoming more of who you really are. Me embodied as a healer sharing my work, I'm more of who I really am than if I wasn't doing this. That's what satisfies me. It's not the money that I make. It's the impact certainly feels really good. I mean, I like the money too, but it's the being who I am. It's the sharing my gift. I ran a ceremony the other night, and all these women that have been coming regularly brought their husbands, and you don't know sometimes how people are going to react. All these guys came for the first time, and they were like, we don't really know what to expect. And I was like, yeah, it's going to be great. And we finished, and they were all like, oh, that was amazing. And they all had incredible experiences, and you could just feel that it had impacted everyone in the room, not just the guys. It had impacted everyone in the room. And one woman messaged me afterwards, and she said, I feel more connected to myself than I have in a decade. And I was just set on fire by that. This is what I'm here to do. This is my purpose. I'm living it. It's lighting me up. That is what becoming more of who you are will give you. That, and the things that you desire, the things that you want to create, they just point you towards that. But we don't want to get distracted by those things. So the first part of the journey is remembering this core essence, the soul that you are, the spirit that you are, and forgetting or dissolving these human limitations. And in the remembering of who you are, you also remember your power to create. You are a powerful creator. You can create anything that you want because you're creating yourself. We often have this idea of finding ourselves, but it's not really about finding ourselves. It's about creating ourselves. You have the power of both, to remember the core, the essence of who you are, and then to choose, to decide. In this incarnation, we have free will. And so you get to decide, who will you create yourself as? Who will you allow yourself to become in this lifetime? And what you desire and what you want to create, it points you towards that. The client that I have that went from doing these like small little packages to working with these huge teams and having these multi-six-figure contracts, this wasn't about like, how do I become more successful and how do I get to this next level and how do I manipulate all these things in the 3D to get where I'm going. I took one look at her and I said, this is who you are. And she said, I know. It's funny how she had a little bit of mousy energy back then. She was like, I know, that's who I dream of being. And I said, that's who you are. I see it. I see the soul that you are clearly, and that's who you're put here to be. We didn't go around doing all this stuff or strategizing or building all these things. We talked about it, but she barely had to do any of that stuff because it came about. What we did was dissolve and strip away everything that was in the way of that. And there's going to be stages that happen on this journey. So if we have trauma, and I really believe that we all have some trauma, whether from when we're younger, whether we realize that or not, really healing that is going to be an important piece of that. Finding regulation in our nervous system. As a disclaimer, if you're someone that feels like you have a lot of trauma or you identify with having a lot of trauma, some of the creation things I'm going to talk about here in this video and on this channel might not be for you until you've really healed your trauma. But anyways, healing and then remembering this core, this essence of who we are. And there's a lot of these spiritual and personal development concepts out there. And you can't go on Instagram for a second without scrolling past someone that's posting an inspiring quote. But there's such a difference between knowing these things and living them. This is what I do with the people that walk with me in my world, is we learn to live in alignment with this truth, in alignment with these principles. And I had this woman that joined my inner circle, Lux Familia, and she kind of was like, I don't know exactly why I'm here. And it was funny. It was her higher self had called her in, but then her human was trying to figure out why she was there. And after we worked together for a couple of months, she had this breakthrough about all these things that I consciously knew. I'm learning how to live them on a day-to-day, how to make decisions from the place of this version of me that already has what I want. And I said to her, yes, this is the point. This is what the work is about. It's about embodying it deeply. And most people are just tossing these things around and trying them and going, oh, I didn't immediately manifest $1 million, must not be real, must not be the truth. But we're not talking about a get-rich-quick scheme. We're not talking about something that is just going to happen overnight. We're talking about shifting the seat of your consciousness from the part of your mind that has learned from society, from your parents, from the collective, from everything that's around you, into your heart, where you can listen, where you can dialogue with the universe and receive the messages from your highest self, and listen to them and make big life decisions, investment decisions, choices about where you're going to live, who you're going to date, what kind of career you're going to have from that place. And that takes time. It takes work. It takes devotion. But what can happen is unbelievable. And I can tell you that myself and every one of those people that I'm talking about that have manifested these incredible things in their lives, it's not about the thing. That's not the value that they got out of it. It's who they became in the process. That's the true wealth, is becoming who you really are, making space in your beingness to hold the full capacity of your soul, to let your light fully shine through you, undimmed, unfettered, unrestricted. Okay, so going into how we can expand our capacity to receive next level. And I go through seasons of really avoiding that language and then using it because it is part of how we think, but it's not really about next level, because it's not something outside of yourself. It's about the big thing that you want, the vision that you can see in your mind's eye, this thing that's like nagging you, being like, you could do that, you want to do that. It's the reflection of the deeper truth of who you are. So it's more about getting everything that's not that out of the way. Again, your external reality is constantly reflecting back to you your internal reality. So as you become the version of you that is that, those things will flow into your life. And that doesn't mean that you don't have to show up and do it, right? You can't manifest being the CEO of a company without actually being the CEO of a company, but it's a very different path than using force and just pushing the blocks around in the 3D, than using alignment and becoming more of a match for what you're creating. So number one is, what is the frame that you're living in? One thing that I find a lot of the times is that we are trying not to fail. We're constantly in this little dance with success and failure. It looks like, how do I make the right decision so I don't fail? How do I go about this so I don't mess it up? How do I plan the next 3 months so that I don't run out of money in the new year? That's the game we're playing. I did a whole video about the primary vibrations being love and fear and living above fear. So if you haven't watched that yet, watch that after this video. We'll put a link to it somewhere because it is a really powerful breakdown of that. But we need to live above fear, and we need to expand that frame. The frame of, how do I not fail? How do I not mess up? Is limited. It keeps us limited, and it keeps us playing defense. What we want to do is play offense. We want to expand that frame. We want to go, How do I create the life of my dreams? How do I become the world-class version of the thing that I am doing? How do I create my life like an artist paints a painting? How do I pick the brushes and for every area, my love life, my relationships, my friendships, my health, my community, my home, my business, my finances, how do I craft this life that's so extraordinary, that's so exactly what I want? How do I 10x what I'm doing? And again, not from this place of like, how do I 10x, not that Grant Cardone energy necessarily, unless you feel a lot of resonance with that. It's how do I build the thing that is my dream? How do I become the world class at what I'm doing? How can I have the boutique agency that's one of a kind and all of these incredible people around the world know about? How do I build an audience of people that believe in what I believe in? What's the big thing? What's the vision? If you weren't limited by time, if you weren't thinking about not failing, if instead you were thinking about what's the most massive, unrealistic seeming success that you could have, what would that like? What would it look like to become the best in the world at what you do? What would it look like to become known hugely? And you've got to be honest with yourself, because when you start asking these questions, things will come up. Oh, who am I to think that? I've already got a lot. We often have this thing, if I become more, then someone else has to become less. That's not how it works. And it's also going to bring up judgments, right? I'm going to do a whole nother video on this, but if you find yourself judging everyone that's more successful than you, then that reveals that there's a part of yourself that's disowning. If people that are willing to become multimillionaires, or people that are willing to talk on stages or be really loud about their beliefs, or even people that are willing to have the best relationships, sometimes people are like triggered by really good relationships, it reveals something in us. We've disowned a part of ourself that desires that. That's why it's triggering. So can you be honest with yourself about what you want? If you want big wealth, big impact, big success, big love, a big life, own it. Own it. The world is not hurt by you becoming more of who you are. You becoming more of who you are literally raises your vibration and brings more light on the planet. The planet needs more people self-actualizing, self-realizing, waking up and becoming who they truly are. Become who you truly are. It will make your life better, and it will create a ripple effect through the world. So number one is, what is the frame that you are living in? Can you move out of trying not to fail or trying to just do a little bit better? It's surprising and it seems paradoxical, but it's much easier to hold a massive frame than it is to hold a tiny frame, because the frame that you're living in is success and failure. And it's measured in these tiny things. If I don't get a client this month, I failed. If I don't get 50K months or $1 million months or whatever level that you're working at, if I don't get that this year or in the next 3 months, then I failed. Then it's looking pretty bleak. If you're looking at, I'm building the life of my dreams and I'm building it over the rest of my life, it's a much different story. So what story, what frame are you living? The next is, you've got to be willing to challenge your beliefs. So for a lot of us, we have a belief that we have to work really hard to create what we want. We just have different beliefs that we have been seeded in our consciousness by the collective, by different things. And we believe in order to have this, it can only come this way. And I have to do this thing. And we often believe we have to do something that we don't really want to do in order to get that. And of course, there's often an opportunity to reframe there. But more importantly, what I want you to look at is challenging that belief. Is that the truth? Is that actually the truth, that I have to do it that way? For example, when I first got into the personal development industry, a lot of people I was learning from did these really intense containers where it would be like 10 days and you would go every day and they would hold the energy for 10 days. And I am, as a projector and a mystic and someone who's very sensitive to energy, and I need a lot of rest and a lot of downtime between sharing, I would try and do that. And it would just get so burnt out to the point I was dysregulated and I was having even weird things happening with my body. And I, for a while, believed, oh, I'm never going to be successful. How am I ever going to succeed if this is the way you have to do things. And then I started to question the belief and go, is that the truth? And then I started to pick apart those beliefs and go, what if I just did it like this? What if I never worked 2 days in a row? And that was when I moved my work. Like now I see clients mostly on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And at first I was, oh, there's no way I'm going to be able to build this successful business just seeing clients or like running programs 2 days a week. It's amazing because it's aligned to me and I can hold that energy so well and I feel so lit up and I feel so magic. And then I start to attract really successful, incredible people who wanted to do this work, but also didn't have a ton of time. And so they loved it because they were like, I don't want to spend 10 hours in a program. I want it really whittled down and refined in this way where I can get it and we can work on embodying it together, but I'm not spending hours and hours and hours and hours every day because I've got a business to run. I've got an empire to build. I've got my magnum opus to birth into the world. And so it ended up working perfectly. And it works because that's what's aligned for me. But if I hadn't challenged that belief of this is the only way you can get to success, then I wouldn't have gotten there. The next is that you have to really put yourself in the mind, in the identity, in the vibration of the version of you that you're becoming. So if you can close your eyes and drop in and visualize this version of you that's already created what you want to think as though you already are that person. A really easy way to do this is with money. Let's say you're working on making $100,000 a month and you have financial decisions to make, like purchasing decisions, travel decisions, whatever. So maybe you're booking a flight, let's say, and you're like, I could go first class. It kind of feels like a stretch financially. I don't know. Well, if you were making that $100,000 a month already, would you go first class? Probably. You don't have to do this in that time. I'm not giving financial advice here, but that is an opportunity to hold the energy and the identity of $100,000 a month self. Now, a lot of people talk about this stuff and it's incomplete the way they talk about it. I had heard people talk about this stuff and I was like, oh yeah, just spend, be in the vibes, make money, whatever. And it'll just come. I did that and I lost a lot of money and it didn't work. I really had to mature and I just study these principles deeply. And it's not about if you spend the money, it's just magically going to come. It's about, can you use that as an opportunity to hold the energy and the identity? And you got to be honest with yourself. Can you hold it? Can you hold that financially? Can you hold it energetically? Can you hold it in your identity? Or is it just going to put you into lack and scarcity? If you trigger your nervous system into collapse, it's never going to be good because then you have to deal with a dysregulated nervous system on top of trying to create what you want to create. I worked on this for years before I really got it and understood how to use these decisions and these moments to hold the identity of who I'm becoming and to become more of it. And the more I've gotten it, the more I've just really dug in. And I will take, from a 3D perspective, look like huge risks, but I take them from the perspective of this is who I am. This is the match for the person that I'm becoming. And I'm not just doing this frivolously. I'm grabbing onto it. I'm grabbing onto the dream, to the vision, to who I know I can be. And I'm making decisions as though it's already happened. And the more I do that, the more time collapses and I accelerate. And the growth in my business, the growth in my results, the growth in just opportunities that come into my life continue to come. Please don't think that it's just, oh, just spend the money as though you already have it. It's so much deeper than that. It's about the energy behind it. And can you hold it? Can you hold that? And holding it means holding it all the time. It means living in it. It doesn't mean there's so much performative success. It doesn't mean going out there and performing on Instagram. Oh, I'm so successful. And then being I'm anxious at night because I spent too much money. That's not it. And even if you're in that, that's not a problem because that anxiousness is actually showing you where the work needs to be done, which is on your nervous system, which is on whatever fears are coming up in that moment. So even that is not a problem. It's part of the journey. But we want to make these decisions holding it, holding the truth. So when we talked about earlier, that big frame, that big vision, if you were already living that, what decisions would you make in your life differently now? And that leads me to the last point, which is that you have to say no to what doesn't fit. We have to make space for what we want. And so people, friends, relationships, clients, price point, opportunities, anything that comes that's not aligned with the version that we're becoming, we have to say no to. This is one of the lessons that I was the slowest to learn, and it caused me the most pain because I constantly would go, oh, I have this vision to work with this kind of person that's doing this thing over here, but these people are available and they're here knocking at the door and saying, can you work with me? And every time I was like, it's good. I can help them. I get to share my gifts. But each time it ended up being a mistake because there's an energetic mismatch. And so I would kind of re-entangle with this energy. And for me, just because I'm really sensitive to energy and vibration, and I've moved out of the healing from trauma phase of my life, there's always bits of trauma that will come up in moments to revisit. And with my clients too, my super amazing clients that seem so shiny and have everything, there's threads of trauma that come up for sure. But this season of healing being the main thing of my life, that's over now. People that are really in that place, I just found that it was too much for my nervous system. It was too much with the energy transfer, even with shielding and grounding and all the things. It just affected me in this way that I could feel wasn't helpful. And so I had to make this honest decision. It's not what's in the highest good for all. It's not in their highest good. It's not in my highest good. It's not in anyone's highest good for me to continue to work with this. So then it became, okay, I've got to hold the energy for what I actually want. And a lot of the times we're like, oh, let me just still do this other thing because it feels safe. But that's not how it works. We often have to say no before the universe says yes. We have to actually hold the energy for the caliber of what it is that we want. And you got to be ready, because when you make a declaration like that, you're either going to be a match for it, and you've already become a match for it. And just by declaring, that's going to help it come into your reality, or you're not a match for it. And so by making that declaration, you're going to get the lesson that you need to become a match for that. And that may be painful or it may not be painful. Sometimes we experience a lot of contrast, but understanding these universal mechanics will help you see that the lesson that you got is actually helping you become more of a match for what it is that you're calling in. So more than anything, what I want you to take from this is that next level vision of what it is that you want to create, as long as it's coming from your true heart's desire and it's not coming from some mental framework or something that you picked up in the collective or something that you're doing to try to prove your worth. If it's truly what's coming through you, it's for you. And it's not actually about the thing, it's the north on your compass pointing you towards becoming more of who you really are. So can you be brave enough to become it? And can you look in the mirror at these things that you've believed about yourself that say, no, I could never have that, or I could never do this? And it's not the truth. It's not real. It's just something that you experience. Here, I'm going to finish with this. Psychology will say that you had these experiences when you were younger. Let's say I grew up gay in a small town. So let's say that psychology would look at this and go, oh, well, authenticity is so big for you because you weren't able to be authentic when you were younger. So that was kind of a trauma thing. And then you heal your trauma, and then that becomes a gift and part of your mission. And now, because that was your deepest trauma, authenticity is really important to you. So you help people be authentic. So all of that is true. But what I believe is that it's a bit deeper than that. We are all connected to something so much bigger than us, whether you call it God, the universe, source, spirit, or anything else, that we are part of this ocean of consciousness, and that we come here in this incarnation really to experience the polarity, to experience the highs and lows, the contrast between love and hate, abundance and lack, fear and courage, that we really came here to experience. And so if we came here fully awake, knowing who we are, how powerful we are to create, we wouldn't be able to fully have that experience. And so we have to forget. A lot of the times we think that there's just this magical forgetting. I think to a degree there is a forgetting that happens when we're born as babies, but it's also the life that we're born into, because the life that we live growing up convinces us that we are the opposite of who we truly are. If you have the biggest heart and you are meant to experience so much love, to give, to be so loved in this lifetime, then you will be born into a life experience that is so painful, that is so devoid of real love, where you are hurt, where you are wounded, where you feel like love is not available no matter where you turn. If you are so powerful and you came here to experience being a leader and taking the initiative and doing incredible things, lighting the way for others, you will be born into a life experience that convinces you that you're not that capable, that you're not that strong, that you're not that able. If you are meant to experience prosperity and abundance and overflow, as is your soul's birthright, then you will be born into a life experience that shows you lack and that what you want isn't available to you. Life is hard and prosperity only comes with great work and struggle and sacrifice. And this is the whole thing I'm talking about. It's not the truth. It's part of the experience of forgetting. You had to forget so that you can remember. The lack of love teaches you the experience of love. Take something in your life that you wanted. Anything, even your phone. My phone's right here. I don't feel this anymore because I feel like we're just in this hamster wheel now of new phones all the time. But I remember back in the day, every time I got a new phone, I was like, oh my God. I'm very techie, so I love phones. And I'm gonna get this phone and I'm so excited about it and look at the features online and be so excited. I remember I used to get it and then go through all the menus and be so excited about the phone. But then it just becomes normal. You just get used to it. So many things that you've wanted, right? People get like that in relationships. Oh, this is the person of my dreams. And then in 10 years, they've forgotten how to keep the spark alive. And they go, oh, this is just normal now. We experience things through novelty, through contrast, through newness. And though obviously in the relationship situation, there's a maturity that goes to working at keeping a spark alive, just like gratitude helps us keep the spark for our lives alive. But my point is that we appreciate things more and we value them more in their absence. We value them because of the polarity. If there was just love, then how would you know how important love is without experiencing the absence of it? If there was just abundance and prosperity, how would you know how important it is without experiencing the absence of it? It's the absence or the polarity, because it's the very experience of the absence of love that makes you appreciate love. So many entrepreneurs have this part in their journey where they feel like they failed and maybe lost everything or almost lost everything. And then it's the success after that feels so good. I know that in my own journey. I had a time in my life where I almost lost everything. And I worked so diligently at aligning and recreating what I really wanted from this beautiful place of alignment. And when I moved into the home that I'm in now, I sat on the balcony watching the sunset and I cried. These tears of gratitude streamed down my face. And I realized in that moment, all of the pain and everything I'd been through and almost losing everything had actually made me into the person that could appreciate what I have more deeply. And I appreciate my life more. And it's also not about my life because I'm not overly attached to the things. It's more of who I became. I became this person that's grateful. And on the day that I woke up, the honeymoon phase of this new place had worn off because that day came. I had this warm, fuzzy feeling in my heart. And I knew on that morning that I was grateful and that I was filled with love, not because anything outside me was sparking it, but because I had become the person who feels gratitude and love as my default state. That's the work of becoming the masterpiece that you're meant to be, becoming the full expression of your soul in this reality. If you want it, if you see it, if you can imagine it, it's for you. If you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. But it's not about the thing being in your hand. It's about who you become in the journey to creating it. The wealth is already within you. The lie in the realm of distraction is that you need something outside you to be happy. It's not the truth. It's all within you. All the feelings of love, of worthiness, of peace, of harmony, of joy, they exist within you. Let yourself be all that you are. You are amazing. You're so worthy. You're so lovable. You're so capable. So go kick butt and create the life that you truly want to live, because it's not about the life. It's about who you'll become in the process. And if you want to do this work with me more deeply, I have an inner circle called Lux Familia where I lead an amazing group of visionaries, creatives, and founders through doing this work at the deepest level. And I would love to hear from you if you're interested in joining. There's a link below for that. I also host a free online ceremony for every new moon and full moon where you can come and really do some powerful energy and identity work. So you can sign up for that. It's absolutely free. The link for that is below as well. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Michael Edwards. I'm sending you so much love, and bye for now.